Tonight, America is on the cusp of 250 years of independence, yet instead of being grateful for the freedoms we enjoy, the younger generation is doing everything they can to tear it all down. So why are so many young voters drawn to radical groups like the Democratic Socialists of America? Do they truly believe the hateful rhetoric that many of them spew, like death to Israel or America deserved 9/11? Or is it something far simpler? Many of the members of the DSA are white, well-educated, and financially stable. So is it truly all about the affordability crisis, or is it about the need to belong? Some even claim they're ready for a socialist president, and there's one name that comes to mind.
I'm ready for a socialist president. I'm ready for AOC to run.
New York Congresswoman may very well be the future of the Democratic Party, and she thinks she knows why we're seeing the surge in young voters.
Young people overall feel a tremendous amount of betrayal about the world that we've been left with.
If anger is driving this movement, what do these rich young voters have to be angry about? What are they getting from the DSA candidates that they aren't getting from establishment Democrats? What specific items are these candidates claiming they will fix to make life better for the working class? Too many candidates rely on broad slogans like defund ICE or make everything free, but they don't offer real solutions to real problems. America didn't get to 250 years by speaking in generalizations. We got here because our founders were problem solvers who built a nation by confronting problems, not by running from them. So let's ask the next generation what they think and why they may or may not be voting for these Democratic Socialists in November. Joining me now are Gen Z journalist Eli Thompson, Seamus Love, founder of Shell Street Consulting, and campus reform correspondent Gregory Lykov. Great to see you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. So Seamus, let's start with you. Why do you support the DSA, and what specific policies resonate with you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I don't, as a blanket statement, I don't blindly support the DSA. I think there are DSA members and there are ideas that I would personally ascribe to, but there are also others that are concerning to me. I don't think that borders are merely a construct. I don't believe that we should abolish the police, but I also, at the same time, I believe that healthcare should be a human right. And we are one of the only industrialized nations that doesn't provide healthcare as a right to its citizens. So I think there's a little bit of a give and take here in the party, that we should be able to support the policies that are maybe more in lockstep with DSA, while understanding that all of their opinions aren't necessarily the solution to America's problems.
Yeah, certainly death to America and intifada are not good solutions to moving a country forward in unity. Eli, why do you think that young people are turning to this ideology?
Yeah, I think the main cause of this is that the pendulum has just swung so far back. Look, these candidates have pushed, like DAC in New York, have pushed some radically crazy ideas. But when you have a president who said that he, at one time, wanted to temporarily terminate the Constitution so that he could win, said that a governor candidate who said that some people need killing and should go back to a time where women couldn't vote is the next Martin Luther King, I think it's no wonder why the other side has also gone crazy. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? We need to call people on all sides, especially in the Democratic Party, need to call it out so that the party isn't engulfed by the same level of radical populism and extremism that the GOP has been. That's why I like that Josh Gottheimer and 12 other Democratic congressmen all signed on to a letter condemning it, because everyone needs to come out condemning it so that we don't have a politics that's just engulfed by radical populism where it's just the craziest people on each side talking.
Well, you mentioned those 12 Democrats in Congress. That's not that many when it comes to the number of Democrats that are there. And Democratic leadership, Hakeem Jeffries, is, even though they're saying and chanting that he's next, they're not saying much about the DSA, and they're not exactly clear how to handle this. But Greg, do you think this is just about wanting to belong to a movement, or do people in this generation truly believe in things like intifada, Palestinian resistance, that America deserved 9/11, that using suicide bombings in places like pizzerias or nightclubs is a way to get your political agenda through? Because that's what these DSA candidates, not just what their mission statement says on their website, they have advocated for this openly prior to them running for office.
Look, yeah, think whatever you want about Trump and, in general, Republicans. You can't compare them to the radicalness that the DSA movement has brought on. Specifically, this idea that somehow everyone is the victim, this idea pushed by socialism that if you are the victim, then, the capitalist society deserves to pay you back. And that's really what socialism is based off, this oppressor versus oppressed ideology that has been pushed by colleges all over the country. Look, the Leadership Institute's campus reform just covered a story about how Utah University's economics department was called a center for Marxist thought by its own school newspaper for having classes like the United States of Inequality. Colleges are pumping children who believe that, these socialist policies are actually going to provide equality among the board, and it's incompatible with American principles. It's nothing like Trump. It's nothing like the right. It is just incompatible with America.
I love the example of this today with New York City Mayor Mamdani, who's been promising everything and anything, saying the government can provide whatever you want for free. And yet he's telling everybody they need to turn their air conditioner up to 78 degrees because, of course, there's not enough for the government to go around. It's a perfect example of how communism does not deliver, despite all the promises of free that we're seeing through these DSA candidates and their campaigns. But Seamus, I mean, I'm really curious what you think about the DSA strategy to use the Democratic Party as a vessel to get on ballots, to use the infrastructure that they have built to destroy the Democratic Party from the inside out. I mean, they talk about how their number one target, of course, is America, but secondly, they're doing it through, getting into these deep blue primaries, sleepy primaries, and taking them over so they can eventually take over the Democratic Party. Is that a fair way for them to be operating, or should they have their own branch and do their own infrastructure building and their own fundraising rather than using the party?
I see what you're saying. At the same time, I think DSA is a wing of the party, and I'm proud to say that the Democratic Party is a Big Tent party. We have folks going as moderate as maybe Abigail Spanberger, who, since she became governor, she's vetoed quite a lot of kind of mainstream Democratic bills that have come across her desk. So we have more moderate Democrats like her or Gottheimer who are in the party and they aren't going anywhere. And I think what's important about DSA is this is happening in a vacuum. It happened in Colorado and happened in New York City. So this isn't representative of somewhere like my home state of South Carolina, where a Democratic Socialist isn't going to win in a state like that. I think the voters speak when they vote, and they're getting people into power that they want, regardless of whether folks in other states agree with them or not.
So Eli, you could also argue that the Democratic Party has become very far left, and there's not that big of a difference between DSA candidates and Democrats who are already elected in office.
Yeah, I mean, look at Massachusetts, though. I mean, in Massachusetts, you have Ed Markey, who's a very popular senator, probably the second most progressive senator, and he's in a dead heat with probably one of the most moderate members of the House, and he might lose his primary in one of the most liberal states. So, I think this is more just not just a radical, it's more of a rebellion against the establishment. People are mad against the establishment in Washington, and they're just putting whoever out there because they want someone who's going to fight back. And
and they've been strategic about that. They're looking at they've seen incumbents who are there for 30 years, and they say, okay, that's a perfect target to go after. I think that's absolutely correct analysis, that people are really just trying to get these people who have been in public office for decades out as well. They just happen to have these very radical ideas. Greg, quick last word to you.
Yeah, look, we can't just blame it on hating the establishment. It's much more than that. It's an ideology that these people have been taught to support. Socialism, again, is incompatible with American values. And the idea that the Democrat Party is supporting these socialists among the board with Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries endorsing socialist candidates, that is concerning. It goes to show that it's not only some wing of the party. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's happening all among the party, and the party is being controlled by these Democrat Socialists of America members.
Well, they're certainly scared. So this was a great discussion. Eli Thompson, Seamus Love, and Gregory Lykov. Really appreciate all of you coming on tonight. Thank you so much for your differing perspectives. We appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.